Good evening, good evening, good evening. Good evening, welcome in, welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. If you are, as you're logging in, if you could just drop your name um, in the chat. Happy to have you all here on a Monday. We're excited about getting started. And we can start the slides. Hi, Amanda. So welcome to Let's Talk About the House Virtual. We are excited to have you all here. We're excited about this discussion um, and excited about getting your feedback and any input that you may have. If this is the first time that you've been here, we definitely encourage active discussion. So please make sure that if there's something that you have questions about or a build or an ad, this is a community space where we rely on the wealth of knowledge that's in the room. And so we want to make sure that we hear your voice while you're here. We know this is a active time for a lot of folks. If you're able to engage with us on screen or virtually or vocally, we're happy to have you. But we also know for some people this is dinner time. I know in my background you'll probably hear some children because tis the hour, tis the hour. So this is Let's Talk About the House Part 6. And my name is Evan Marie. I am the founder and the executive director of Blondina's Heirs, and it was so just pleased to have you here. We're gonna go through a couple of things here. We can go to the next slide and get right into it. So, Blondina's Heirs is a nonprofit organization that helps Black families navigate every facet of the property inheritance process through community conversations like these, mediation, storytelling, education, and advocacy. We want to empower Black families specifically to make financially progressive decisions about legacy property and about things that are theirs in general. And we want to create safe space to talk about all the nuances of that process so that we can create community around shared experiences, but also kind of come to some shared solutions and ways forward. So we are moving through our goals. We've had some really interesting and great things that have happened this year, including education programs. And we will talk soon at the end of this about an upcoming conference that is the Let's Talk About the House Live. And I'll mention it just quickly at the top of this meeting because I know sometimes people come at the beginning and the end, and we'll talk more about it. But the weekend before Thanksgiving, we will be engaging families and communities around these topics live at the Work Center, which is on Northwestern's campus, but we'll give more detail about that in a little bit. So these statistics are simply to offer the why. Why do we do this work? These are the statistical reasons when it comes to property ownership in the Black community. We can go to the next slide. The one that I think stands out to me most is this part from Consumer Reports that says that 50 to 77% of Black families lose property due to not having a will or a trust. And so um, that is largely because of we talk about the legal things that we need to take care of, but we also want to make sure we are reminded that it also has a lot to do with the emotional weight of considering our own fate, mortality and that of those who are around us. So we know that us being able to have some of these community conversations paired with some really great assets and information can help us move through and reduce the statistic. Next slide. So we are still very thankful to the Illinois Arts Council for sponsoring the writing of what is now Dina's Loom, which will be read during that conference in full. We've been doing snippets of it here and there. We have a different storyteller today, so we won't do an excerpt today, but that will be something that will be offered, a stage reading on November 22nd and 23rd, which is open to the public. So we're still very grateful to the Illinois Arts Council for seeing the vision and being willing to support it. I want to continue to create space to take a moment. This was Yvonne Pugh is a woman who passed away recently. She was very near and dear to the community at large. She was an advocate. She was a person who stood up for things that were just. She was a community auntie and very near and dear to my family. And so during this last 5 or 6 sessions, at the top of them, she attended an event and um, made a decision to do a transfer on death for a property that she owned in on the west side. And unbeknownst to us, she was dealing with a illness that was highly fatal, and we lost her about 2 months ago. But we lost her, and her family did not lose the property. And according to her, it was prompted by just the conversation that we had here. So we are grieving the loss of her, um, just her light on earth, and very grateful that this touch point inspired an action so that the legacy she built as an educator and as an advocate went to her family property and to her family. So we are grateful for her and hope that she is well pleased with the work that we're doing as she has ascended. Next slide. Okay, so we're going to start the conversation a little bit. Before we get to that, actually, let's skip ahead a little. We are in the midst of a If There's a Will, There's a Way challenge. And we'll talk a little bit more about it, but I want to do just a check-in. We have this going on we started August 25th. And we are extending this all the way through October 27th. And so this was prompted by one of our sessions where I was compelled to make sure that I had my things filed. And I know that there are wills, there are trusts, there are transfer on deeds, there are all kinds of things that we can file to ensure the security of our property. And I want to see if there's anybody here who is participating in the challenge. If you've participated, I would love to hear what that participation has been like. If you're scaling towards it, meaning you're making some steps in that direction, I would love to hear what kind of steps that you're taking. And if you have had any resistance to moving forward to make this a actionable thing, let's talk about some of that resistance because that's part of this space as well.
Well, yes, my name is Tamiko, and I'm so excited that there is this challenge that is happening with There's a Will, There's a Way. I know that I definitely took part in trying to research what were some really good options, and I found one that I had in my back pocket forever, and then I discovered it was an online version of it. So I have been going away with the Susie Orman's must-have documents that she has. And in doing that, I found that there were definitely some things that I needed to have in place, which now I am going through the process of making sure that whoever I put down in my will knows it. And then also whoever is going to be the successor of that or my power of attorney, that I have communication with them so that when I put them in those places, they are actually in those places and they know it. So those are the things that I've been doing, especially with that document. And I think I shared that with this group beforehand. So maybe it will be shared again to everyone who is on here. But that particular process of knowing and figuring those pieces out before I actually finish this challenge has been a necessary thing, but also a stumbling block. But I know that as I am going through this process, that it will probably be definitely very beneficial. And I know it will be beneficial in the end as well.
No, thank you for that.
I'm particularly glad that we're having this challenge because um, one of the things that challenges me the most is just keeping it at the top of my list, knowing that it needs to be done, knowing everything that should be put in place, but being very, very intentional, especially during this challenge, to keep it at the very top of my list.
No, I appreciate that transparency and just the practical part of when do I do this? I think it's like so many things. When do you schedule time to address things that are not immediate? And so, for those of us who are caregivers, for example, or just major conduits in our families or in our lives, how do we schedule to take care of this? And how many sessions do we need to schedule? For those of us who are Google Calendar people, I'm always a huge proponent for time chunking. If you're able to chunk it during a lunch hour, I'm spending 30 minutes on this part of it. That can be helpful. If you're not a Google Calendar person, if you're a post-it note on the wall person, that may be a system as well. But thinking about when you take care of it and then in what steps can also be super helpful. Anybody else participating in the challenge or having any resistance to participating in the challenge? Yeah, see that having forms on hand is key. That's great because we have someone who's going to be talking to us about that today. Um, for some of us, having our things are in place is difficult. For some of us, also, we have loved ones who we are trying to urge to get their things in place. And so, thinking in terms of how to have those conversations, how to engage people in a light way that doesn't have to feel like you're burying people, but just saying, "Hey, these are conversations we want to have," is important. There is something about honoring the legacy of our elders, the intentional work of Black and Brown people who have been able to acquire anything in this country, and saying, we are not going to let it go back to the system. It's not going to be lost in probate because we're afraid or concerned or we don't want to deal with the tension around those conversations. And so it can be a loving conversation. It is not putting a timeline on anybody's life, but it is saying, I have such a high respect for what you've done and what you've created and what you've put in place for us. And we want that intention to live beyond us. And so we want to make sure we can, those are ways that we can approach conversations. We can do it over pastries, over dinner. We can kick our feet up, we can watch a comedy, and build in 15-minute breaks. There are all kinds of ways to approach this conversation in a light way. And I'm also open to, if there are people who have successfully had conversations with family, I would love to give you space to share how you've started those conversations, because I know we could all collectively benefit.
All right, next is the video. 1 moment.
Hold on one second. Lynn is filling in for Sam today and helping.
If you're earning 7 figures and still using a
I can still hear you. So she's filling in on the side.
Sorry. Okay, just ads. Okay.
So we are going to look at a little bit of a snippet from a video that talks a little bit about heirs property, and we're going to use that as a just to kind of have conversation about some of the dynamics that folks are experiencing, and would love to hear your reflections about it. And then soon after that, we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to hear from some folks from the Inherit team about a tool that we can use as we're navigating this challenge. But we can go ahead and play that. Thank you, Lynn.
There are a lot of great $600,000, $1 million, $2 million homes.
Your biggest decision is, do I want to go to the beach or the pool, and what am I going to grill for dinner?
South Carolina, Hilton Head. What's going on there?
People with families, everybody loves Hilton Head.
One of the best ways for an American family to create intergenerational wealth is to own some land. It's in high demand, and they don't make it anymore. I'm standing on the beach of the beautiful island of Hilton Head, South Carolina, where after the Civil War, Black people owned most of this. But over the decades, the land was lost. And to this day, we got Black folks that are still fighting to keep their little piece of the American dream. By 1910, African Americans owned around 16 million acres of land, much of it acquired through purchases and homesteading. But after years of violence, intimidation, and legal trickery, most of it was taken. Texas A&M law professor Thomas Mitchell has been tracking that loss for 2 decades.
Historically, if we're talking about African Americans, despite this incredible acquisition of land after the Civil War, most of that property was not considered prime real estate. For example, Hilton Head, South Carolina. Until 1950, Hilton Head was remote. There wasn't a bridge from the South Carolina mainland out to Hilton Head Island, and the island was owned by majority African Americans.
Right.
What does South Carolina do? They build a bridge. Real estate developers realize, oh, there's a great economic opportunity, and they have divisions of what has become Hilton Head.
The indigo, rice, and long staple cotton of the past have given way to the golf, tennis, and swimming of today's leisure society.
They started buying out individual families, and there's hardly any Black landowners left. And what's just happened as our society has advanced, areas that were once considered the backwaters no longer are the backwaters.
We're on a mission right now to get this tangerine. The vulnerability of Black land isn't limited to the coastlines. It's widespread throughout the United States, even in my hometown of Tallahassee. Sandra Thompson learned just how hard it can be to maintain possession of land that developers want to get their hands on. I remember growing up in Tallahassee. This was the sticks. I went to school with people that lived out here. We'd be like, you live in the boonies, in the boondocks.
It's actually now zoned urban fringe.
Urban fringe.
Urban fringe.
People try to buy it.
All the time.
Sandra's family were sharecroppers on this land. Her grandparents bought it in 1946 using money their son made serving in the military. But their will didn't clearly identify a single person who would inherit and manage the property.
When my grandmother passed away, it was left equally to her descendants. So that essentially created heirs property.
Heirs property. On the most basic level, what is it?
Heirs property is communal type property, where your ancestors would have purchased the land, and once they passed away, it transfers to the next generation and their descendants. It's fractional ownership, a property that could be owned by 200 people. Any one of those heirs could sell their percentage. That new owner can go to the court and say, well, we can't agree on how to manage this land.
And force the rest of the folk to sell it, even if they don't want to?
Yes. And so
we're going to pause there. This is a link that we can share. It's about 23 minutes, but I want to give space to just reflect. What did you hear in just that segment.
That a lot of it has been lost, was acquired, like the numbers, what was it? Um, the million amounts of land that was once owned. That's incredible. That a lot of stuff in that video, just in that short snippet of the video, I didn't know.
Mhm. What else did you hear or feel just listening to that snippet?
Truly, I felt a sense of betrayal. I don't want to say hopelessness, but I felt a little bit a sense of hopelessness. And to be quite transparent, a bit of sadness to have been owners of that much land and that much property, and especially that's valued like beachfront property at Hilton Head. That was ours. Who would know?
Absolutely. If there What I find interesting about this video, and you can watch it in totality, is that it tells the story of how gentrification, and how developers don't always, but can affect a community, and how capitalism leads and legacy and people's property takes a very much a back seat. I know we watched an excerpt from a different video about a different part of the country where there was a very similar story. It is normal to feel um, angry or sad or grief. I would say, and I think that there are people who also feel a sense of hopelessness. I had a conversation with someone yesterday about the work that we were doing, and her response was one, well, I hope that you can find some people who this relates to because we don't have anything. And then her follow-up was, and whatever my family did have, it got taken. So the idea that the institutional trauma that exists in the Black community around amassing wealth is very real. And we have to make sure that as we talk about approaching these conversations, that we understand that we're experiencing a trauma, and also thinking through how we navigate a way forward. If we look at the millions and millions and acres of land that were lost to African Americans alone in this history, in this country, it is absolutely staggering. That does not factor in immigrant populations. It does not factor in the lost land of Native American populations. It is absolutely staggering. And we understand that as this country has grown, the shift of land possession is how it's built its capital. And so it just points to more reasons that it's important to have some of the tools we're going to talk about in a few short minutes, to make sure that our families have an understanding of how to not let this part of history repeat itself. Before I transition, are there any other reflections from that excerpt? We got a quiet group today. All right, so I'm pretty excited about this next segment. We're going to get into hearing some storytelling, but we're hearing some storytelling from a woman that I met last year, right as I was founding this organization. And meeting her actually was one of the confirmations that this was something that I needed to move forward on, because she was talking about the work that she and her team were doing around a similar issue. So we are going to have a moment, and Aston, let me know when you're ready, to meet Aston Hayes. And she's going to tell us a little bit about her family story related to inheritance and property transfer. And then she's also going to talk to us a little bit after that about a tool that she and her team have created that I'm pretty excited about sharing with you here. Because that's been one of the questions that's come up in these sessions, like what tools do we use and how? So, Aston, if you're ready.
I am ready. I thought this was at 7, so I apologize, everybody, but I am down the street from my house, but I am here and can still talk and tell my story until I can put my face on the screen. So hopefully that is fine with you, Evan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have
okay.
your
Yeah, I see the picture up, so thank you.
No,
but yeah, I don't know if you have a particular question you want me to kind of just dive in.
You can dive in. Tell us a little bit about your personal experience. Let's start there. What's your personal experience when it comes to inheritance, and what makes you that's driven you to be passionate about this kind of work?
So I will say I come from a family where inheritance is important. My great grandfather was able to get tons of land in Alabama to pass off to his children, and now we're going into the children's children have the land. But one thing I've noticed from that experience is because our elders acquire the land, but they don't always pass on the information that's needed to keep that land. And so it's important to me to keep land in the family and pass it along. But more recently, in the last 3 years, I had a godmother. My godmother, no kids, wasn't married, became ill and terminally ill, and I became her caretaker, moved in with her, and just going through the process of preparing her for the end of life while she was making her transition was very difficult. And it would have been a lot easier had it been conversation that we had when she was fully aware and her health was in pristine, versus trying to pull things together while that's not really top of mind for her. So things like power of attorneys for health and financials, and then of course people make their will, but depending on when you made your will, a lot of things are outdated. A lot of things that you said you wanted certain people to have that might not really be what it is. The person that you made the executor might have been the best person at that time, and then it turns out that they aren't really the person that should have been taking care of that in more current times. So me learning all of these things, this being my first go round having to deal with any kind of end of life planning, because unfortunately my grandparents passed about 20 years ago, so I was still in college. My family had taken care of all of that, my mother and her sisters, so never had to intimately deal with any of that. And it was stressful, like even though it was just me and it wasn't like I was fighting with any internal family, I still had to deal with an executor that shouldn't have really been my godmother's executor, to be honest with you. So it was just one of those learning lessons, and I'm like, this has got to be easier. And I can't imagine if it was more layers to this process, like siblings or if somebody else that was involved, how all of that would have gone. And so out of that came an idea that I had, Inherit, and you guys will hear more about Inherit as we go along. But it's a digital platform that you can use to basically help you with end of life planning. So all of that to say, you can organize all your assets. You can get your will and trust. So we're working on that. We're still in beta version. So right now, everything is organizer and a free health power of attorney at the time. So that's, kind of where we are with everything and trying to build that up and just teach people the importance of inheritance, property, passing on your assets and make.
I think we lost you. Are you still connected with us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Right.
From the personal experience, and thank you so much for being transparent and sharing your experience with your godmother. What are things that you feel like you needed to be prepared for just in human space? I know we're going to talk about all of the other things, but what are some of the things that you would share as far as what you maybe were not prepared for, or what you would have you wish you knew then that you know now with regard to just navigating the human emotions or the things that are going on with this, and even maybe even your executive function while you're under the influence of grief. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So the human function, that's a good question. I think now I can get on the video so you all can see me. Can you see me?
Hey.
All right, cool. I'm here. All right, sorry everybody. But the human function, I think the biggest thing with that is just realizing, like, treating somebody how you would want to be treated in that space when you are, unfortunately transitioning out. So it was just trying to figure out, especially when it got to the point where she couldn't really verbally communicate with me, trying to work around that, keep somebody comfortable, tap into, different things. Like I always tell people the story about pretty much the week I knew she was probably going to pass away. And I just remember us driving in the car. We had gone to a doctor's appointment of hers. And I was like, oh, I had to run some errands. Do you feel like running these errands with me, or do you want to, go elsewhere or go back home? And she was like, oh, pretty much like it was okay to run the errands. And so I was like, all right. So she wanted me to go to Bath and Body Works and return some stuff for her at Bath and Body Works. So we did that. And it was a nice, like, sunny winter day in Chicago, which, we don't get a lot of sunny days when it's winter time. And I remember the sun just shining on her and it looked nice. And I don't remember what song it was. I should remember what song, but it was a gospel song that came on. And of course, she, hadn't been to church in a while and things like that. But I just remember her putting her hands up and just closing her eyes and kind of taking in the song. And it was like, at that moment, I was like, she's at peace. Like, if she's probably going to go and like 3 days later, she had expired. So just kind of tapping into more emotions and things like that. So to answer your question.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Appreciate you. You made mention that there was someone who was her executor, maybe should not have been her executor. Can you talk to us about what the range of responsibility is for an executor, first of all, then why, from your perspective, should that person not have been the selection?
So, as a power of attorney, so my mother was actually my godmother's power of attorney. So she was the one kind of us together when we were making decisions, but my mother was the one that made the final decision. So they asked her about anything medical. She made that decision, made those decisions on her behalf. Same thing with her finances. I might have been the one executing everything, but she was the one actually making the decisions. But upon death, once that happens, the power of attorney is released, and then whoever is the executor takes over from there. Unfortunately, my godmother, it was a ex-boyfriend of hers from 11 years ago that was no longer her boyfriend. So still somebody that kept in contact with her and knew what was going on. And I think he kind of really knew too much, because he knew everything that she had left behind was being left to her siblings who were older than her. One who was had dementia, and the other one that she was estranged from. So at that point, he just took advantage of the situation, and sold everything off. Didn't go through probate, and none of her, wishes were pushed through. But he also knew that no one was going to push back on that, because of that. So yes, so yeah, the power of attorney, like immediately upon death, whoever is the executor takes over like immediately. So yeah, we had gotten into it with paying the rent at that point. I think she had like passed like right around the time that rent, her rent was due. And so it was a battle of if he was supposed to pay it or if I was supposed to pay it. And it was in that like gray space. So we got into it about that. Yeah, so just a bunch of things like that. So I think people, when they have conversations with their family about, people think, oh, okay, it should be maybe my oldest child or it should be my children. Sometimes it shouldn't be your children, or you kind of have to think about people's personality and who's best suited to deal with, because it's stressful. You might have somebody that doesn't grieve well, and so now they're trying to grieve and deal with administrative duties and doing things like that, and they might not be the best person in that role.
That's a great call out, especially about the being under the influence of grief and how people function. Because sometimes we can anticipate that, and sometimes we don't know what's going to happen with that.
Right.
Similar life experience, just not knowing how grief was going to impact people. I found my experience was just realizing that the grief started to bring up all kinds of generational stuff that happened before my life was even had even started. Had elders who had unresolved things, and the grief, became V for Vendetta. And so all of a sudden, everything.
And that it magnifies all of that. Yeah.
From age 10, and they're, in their 70s, just completely, brought to the table. And so from a space of, human compassion, you want to understand that this is what's happening. But when you're trying to function and operate in a place where you're trying to get some business taken care of or close to you, it's a bit of a challenge to try to navigate.
Yeah, so that, that's one of the reasons with the inherit, I think a lot of people don't realize getting things like this together. Just, think about people that get remarried and they did a will, like I said, let's say you did a will 10 years ago, never turned, went back to it. And then now you have a new wife, maybe some new children. So now that's created this whole other dysfunction if you haven't set things up for both families to, receive your assets or be taken care of. Then that creates a whole nother mess. Or even people, you got a lot of people that co-parent now. So if something happens to the main parent, it might not be the other parent that you really want to be full time with your child. You have to have those conversations with your co-parent about what's actually best for your child. And I don't think people think about things like that. So
yeah, I thought we had a conversation in the last session about us, there's going to be a default parent, but also that the judge, the court can come in and make decisions about the capability of whoever you leave your children to. And so a line of people who could take custody of your children and be able to take on those responsibilities is also a part of it, which is something that is a little daunting, to say the least, especially we talked about this last time, just as a parent of relatively small children. But we're going to transition. I want to make sure that people who are in this space, if there's a time where you want to chime in or ask questions, we can do that. But I want to transition to talking a little bit about Inherit. And if there are ways that if you want us to screen share some things, we can. But tell us what is Inherit? And just give us the lowdown. What is it that you all have created over there?
Absolutely. And my co-founder Amanda, if you want to share anything, so I can talk, and if it's something you want to show on the screen, we can divide and conquer that way. But Inherit is a digital estate planning platform that we kind of walk you through from A to Z how to start your estate planning. We also have a Inherit hub that you can go to, pretty much ask questions, and we'll have articles and stories and things of that nature that we're constantly updating to help you go through that process and answer some of the questions, because all of us don't have all of the questions all the time. So we're attempting to take all the questions that we get from platforms like this, or just things that people have asked us on social media, in order to build out this hub. So that's one part. That's basically how we start the conversation. Our ethos is start the conversation, build your legacy, get back to joy. So platforms like this, where we're having a conversation and sharing stories and answering questions, is part one of how to even, get to that place where you feel comfortable enough to start pulling documentation together and things of that nature. And I don't think people realize that that's step one, is getting all your documents together. I know that's the daunting task, but I think people think you could just go and start writing up a will and putting what your wishes are. And technically you can do that, but I think that doesn't give you the big picture of where you really are and what assets you have, and putting things together the best way possible, and remembering what um, you know, let's say insurance policies you have, or how many bank accounts or saving accounts and things like that. If you just dive in, you're not really given the big picture, and sometimes you forget about things. But we do have a quiz when you start, and you can start for free. You can go on the platform, and I think Amanda may have put the link in the chat, but you can go in, sign up, look around, give us feedback, start uploading documents and things like that in our storage area. Oh, good. Thank you. Oh, Lynn did. All right, cool. Thank you, Lynn. And then even do your free POA. Like I mentioned before, we have a free power of attorney, and that's basically our gift to the community. We know the importance of, if something happens to you, happen to get in a car accident, and you don't have it set up with the proper person that you want to make sure that they know your wishes, whether you want to, give organs, do organ donation, or DNR, or whatever those things are. You want somebody that has the ability to know what your wishes were or are. So, and another thing we spoke about earlier that a lot of people don't know is, basically once you turn 18, anybody turns 18, they should have a power of attorney. Just because they live with their parents pay their insurance, or they still going to the doctor with their parents. HIPAA will not allow adult parents to make adult children decisions without that power of attorney. So keep that in mind. If you have college age children, or children that are about to turn 18, a lot of them are new drivers and things like that. And we've heard of terrible accidents that happen where something happens to someone's child and they're unable to make that decision on behalf of their child. So anybody like that, tell them to go on Inherit, fill it out. They can print it. We're working on getting e-notary soon, so that you can do everything on the platform. But for now, we want to make sure at least people are covered in that space.
Okay, let's look at this thing. Elena, are you able to share a screen? I want us to look at the platform. I want us to get an understanding of what it offers, because I got pretty excited about the different facets of it. I was excited about the membership. And then there's also, I don't remember how it's termed, but there is almost like you all have trained an AI bot, basically. Answer lots of questions. So tell us where we should be clicking in this thing. Where do we go?
So let's see where we start. I would say you can do get started, or if we want to do the hub, you can show the hub first. Actually, let's go there. It said to clarify, you all provide a power of attorney. I didn't see what it said. that was a question for me or not. Let's see. And sorry if I haven't been answering anyone's questions.
And we can bring them to the conversation. No worries.
Okay, sounds good. Right, hope should lead to the process. Power of attorney is basically just the person that is making decisions on your behalf. Should you not be able to do that for your health care or your finances? So they'll be the people that have access to your bank accounts, anything that you would need passwords for that have to deal with your money. Should you not be able to do that? That's what the power of attorney. So there's two different ones you can have. You can have one that somebody does both, and you can do it where it's separate. Once again, I always say assess the people that you know well and put them in places that they have good skill to do that. So if you know someone's not good with money, they probably shouldn't be your financial power of attorney. But if they're good they might be better on the side of healthcare or your healthcare. But anyway, back to the platform. So this is the Inherit Hub that I was talking about before. This is where you can go and type in questions, and we will, articles that have to deal with the questions that you ask will come up. So things like, how do I start the conversation? A lot of times people don't want to have conversations with their parents or their spouse or whoever about dying. Talking about dying is not fun. It's not sexy at all. So, starting the conversation will give you some background on best ways to start it. I always say the best way to do it is just ask a couple questions as you go. It doesn't have to be a big sit down where you taking out an hour and asking all these things. A good way is to kind of ease people into it and just ask a couple questions, kind of see how people test the water and see how people react to some of the questions before you make it a big thing.
Lynn, can you? Oh, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, that's fine. What were you asking, Lynn?
I was just saying, Lynn, can we click through how do we start the conversation? And if there are people here who have questions that they would like to drop in the hub, this would be a good time to do it, just to kind of get an idea of how the hub works and how we can get information. But even for the how to start the conversation now, because I think beginning this feels kind of daunting for a lot of folks. Do we just click the arrow?
You can click the arrow, or we can even go and I can kind of keep walking through. But yeah, this will give you, just like I said, articles and different ways on how to start that. So the plan is, once again, it's beta. The plan is to make this more interactive, to be able to have videos and things of that nature, so that people feel like it's a two-way street and we're just not throwing a bunch of articles at you. But we got to start somewhere. So.
Great. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Where else?
Yeah. So if you want to go back, the second part, and I had mentioned our ethos to you guys earlier, start the conversation, build your legacy, get back to joy. So the get started part is start your conversation. But if you scroll down, you'll see the get organized part. So the get organized part is the build your legacy part. That's where, we're asking about what documents you should have ready before you put your will together, learning about estate planning, where you should start, things of that nature. So that second part feeds into the build your legacy piece. And, once again, more articles about that second part of our ethos. And then wills versus trust. I know a lot of people don't know about trust. If you have a family that has a lot of different property, a bunch of assets and things like that, trusts are the better way to go. You can totally avoid probate, and a lot of time it might be more money on the front end to set it up, but it'll save you a lot of time on the back end. So Amanda's talking about our store. Yeah, so we'll help you organize and store all of your things. One thing too, while you are still alive, and a lot of people don't think about, we talked about this with you, Evan, earlier today, is emergencies, natural emergencies or natural disasters. A lot of people keep their things in a file cabinet or maybe a safe, if you're lucky, a fireproof safe. But most people aren't thinking about doing that. So let's say you have a fire, flood, or whatever, you end up losing all your documentation, and trying to get that back, we know is a headache for most people. But imagine if you have backed everything up in a cloud and something happens, and now you have everything tucked away as a plan B or plan A. But yeah, a lot of people haven't thought about that outside of just end of life planning. It actually can help you during life.
There was something that you mentioned earlier about how to use I guess if my documents are all in here, I have my whatever information I need for my children. You talked
Mhm.
about what happens. So my oldest will be 12 in January, but when she turns 16 or 18, what happens then with this hub as I have this membership in place?
Well, at that point, at 18, we would hope that you would get him or her own membership. And you can definitely take the storage, the plan is to be able to take those files and move them over so that, at that point, she'll have her own power of attorney. You can make sure that you can still take care of her beyond, once she's going to college, and make those decisions on her behalf until you feel like she's ready to, until maybe somebody comes in and she gets married, or, someone else comes in to take that from her. But you want to be able to make sure that she's taken care of. But by the time she turns 18, you want to be able to get her own inherit account.
All right. Do we want to go other places on the site?
Well, yeah, and to get back to Joy, that's just that's the last part. So, just giving some tips about how to get through grieving, how to get through planning in general, because once again, starting this conversation is not easy to do, and just giving you things about how to plan after a loss, what to do after all of this is over. Because yeah, we want you to get everything in place, but we know that's not the end of the road. Once it's in place, things have to happen after. You're still going through probate in some cases, and you're still grieving. So we talked about the human piece of things. That's one thing we are really big on our site, is unlike your legal Zooms and things like that, where you just go in and get out and they're assuming you know everything. We're assuming that you're coming on this site, you know very little. You probably heard just a little bit about it, and we want to give you enough information that you feel comfortable, that we feel like we're guiding you and holding your hand through the process, and understanding that the decision you're about to make is not a light one, but it's an important one. So, yeah, that's the Inherit Hub part. And then if you click Get Started, it'll have you sign in. And I don't know if we want to do that, or I don't know, Amanda, if you guys might have already signed up for
It might be easier, if Amanda's able to share screen or not, just to kind of see. And if you're not in a position to, we can do that in the back.
go through it. Yeah. I don't know what, Amanda, I don't know what you would prefer. Yes, we provide a power of attorneys to Miko.
And if there's
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say I'm actually not at my computer to do that, but on next month's call, I can definitely do a dive in to the platform and show the group.
Got it. So yeah, if you guys want to, in the meantime, still, fill it out, you can, if we want to do that, but I didn't want to waste time, or, it shouldn't show passwords, but.
Yeah, we never know what's going to show up.
Right.
We're dropping that link in the chat for everyone to use. And from what I understand, there is access to the platform that's free. And then there's also a paid membership as well. So I want to open up the floor for conversations, because one of the things there are lots of things that excite me about Inherit. But what I love about it is that it's an ongoing communication, and that we talk about steps and stages and phases, which has been something that's come up a lot in these conversations. So I want to open the floor for questions that you have for Aston or Amanda, or questions about the platform, or just reflections in general, as it relates to getting these trusts and wills filed and getting our affairs in order.
I'm interested to know how many people in here already have a estate plan together. And no, obviously no judgment. We're here to get you together, but you know, sometimes we come across people that have it together. And bravo to you.
Yeah, we were talking about that at the top, and there's some folks who are engaging in the challenge. We have the If There's a Will, There's a Way challenge. Some people are filing now, and one of the things that was a call out was that people were gathering documents and realizing how many documents there were to put things in place. So I know that that was something that was shared, but if there are other people who have updates about that, please do share.
And one thing I want to throw out too in the meantime, just to kind of put you at ease, if you, I don't want to say if you're not ready to go through the whole will process, or you're still unsure, but you have a home or a car, there's still transfers that you can do, especially, I don't know about in other states, but I know in the state of Illinois, I know we got people from across the country, but most states will have a transfer that you can get. So, you know who you want to have a house, you can literally just get a tool of transfer and transfer it, and until you can get a full will together and put all of that in place, at least you have a backup plan for your larger assets.
Hey, I just wanted to chime in. I first wanted to say thank you so much to the Inherit team. I think the information that's being provided is so necessary for all of us, but I also think that it could be a bit overwhelming as we seek to pull together the documents, as we kind of like source through some of the emotions, and then also when we're trying to figure out the space where our family is in regards to who's going to do what and how we can get together. And one of the challenges that Blondina's Heirs is so focused on confronting is this issue of property loss through heirs, right? And we know that because of how our ancestors have put property in place in order to be transferred, their thoughts and wishes, hopes and dreams don't always go that way. And unfortunately, some of us have also adapted those behaviors where we don't do the things that are necessary. So when you have a platform like Inherit that's encouraging us to do the more technical aspects, it can feel a little bit uncomfortable. And I really appreciate the last thing that you said, as far as maybe you're not here, but you can start here. And so my long-winded comment that's going into, I appreciate that's going into, I guess my question is, in addition to the suggestion that you just made to say, hey, you might not be here yet, but you can start here. Can you give folks that are just at the beginning, maybe at the infancy stage, where they are going to join, maybe they'll have a free membership, or maybe they're not even there, but they want to do something. What are some legitimate steps that they can take after this call tonight to start the process of beginning to solidify some of the things that we're talking about in order to protect the land that is there, that our ancestors have left for us? What would you say are some things that they can do tonight?
Well, if we're talking specifically about land, like I said, the transfer on death instrument, and I think Amanda put it in there, and anyone that's in Illinois, I know Amanda, I don't know if you have the ability to go to Cook County Clerk's office and find it, but you can, if you're in Illinois, you can go there. I'm pretty sure any county in the United States, you could probably go to their website and find their tool. Clearly they don't make it easy. You still got to go find it, print it out, go get it e-notarized and all that other stuff, and then take it back to the office. We're currently trying to work with our Cook County to get them to the point where they're up to speed with the ages where people can just do it online, or at least, make it easier to do it online and then e-notarize it. But that'll probably take a while. We know how government government is. But the transfer on death instrument for land, that would be the first place I would start for the time being. But once again, we have the storage, our online storage is pulling everything together. You had mentioned about people leaving homes to their heirs, and the heirs don't always know what they're doing, or always don't even have the money to keep it up. Sometimes they have the best intentions, but you got to have some money behind those intentions to get things done, to pay taxes, to update, make updates, and things of that nature. So pulling together documentation is key. So if I was going to do something tonight, I would get on Inherit. That would be the first thing. Get on Inherit and just look around would be my first step. We have a quiz that's on Inherit that basically is about 10 questions. It'll take you less than 2 minutes to go through, where we ask you some questions, and then it'll help set you up so that the power of attorney and will, when we do get the will piece, because we still are in beta, and that'll come out within the next 2 months, the will piece, but at least it'll tailor things to you based around your lifestyle, whether you're married, you have children, pets, things of that nature. Do you own a home? So we want to assess your lifestyle before we dive into what articles might be the best for you, what should be next steps for you. So that would be my first step, is check out Inherit. And we make it so that you can do it at your own pace. A lot of people get overwhelmed with going to attorneys, because you go to attorney, you got to answer all the questions at once. You're paying by the hour sometime, or retainer. And sometimes you might not be ready. Most of the time people do see an attorney, and the attorney's asking you for all this documentation that you have no idea where it is, and you have to dig for it, and you have to take some time. And then sometimes people never even circle back to that attorney at that point. So the good thing about Inherit is that you can do it from the comfort of your own home. You could be watching a movie if you want to. Probably wouldn't suggest that, because you probably need to focus, but you can do it from the comfort of your own home at your pace for the same price all year. It's just a membership fee of $149, which is very cheap in comparison to what you would do to go see an attorney every once in a blue moon to update your documentation. So
If I could add to that, I know that, Mercedes, your question was like something that you could do tonight. Besides joining, if people didn't want to join, I think one of the first steps that you could make is just finding a document. Find your vital documents. Start getting organized. Just starts by trying to find them, right? Because most of the issue, even when you go to an attorney, that first consultation is go find your documents, right? And so that is the first step. So if there was something that all of us could do today, tonight, one thing that we could do to move in the right direction of starting to get organized would definitely be find your birth certificate, find your deed for your house, right? Because the next step on your house, on the deed, is to do that transfer on death instrument. What else can you find? Your car insurance, your life insurance documents, upload them. Like Aston said, join Inherit, centralize them in one place. I would just find your documents to start with, because that's the biggest hurdle that we have as adults. I think we're lifing so much that finding documents is always the least of our worries, or the last thing on our mind, when it could save us and our loved ones a lot of time.
Well, thank you for that. And then there was a question in a chat. How does all this work when you're separated? And I don't know if you're moving towards divorce or just separated, but how does that work when it comes to assets? Like if you were to expire, and that's what the question is. Please correct me, but if you expire while you're separated, how does all that work? And I mean, do you have any insights about that?
Well, I am not an attorney.
Yeah.
So I think Amanda could probably answer it better than I can. But as far as I would think, you're by the law, you're technically still married, so that person would still be able to make decisions on your behalf, or get access to your assets, unless you have something in place saying that they don't.
Mhm.
But Amanda, I'll let you answer that question.
Yeah, this is also not legal advice, so let's want to preface with that as well. But my assumption would be, because like Aston said, you're married, so right, that is you're still married. The only thing that you would that would stop something like that if you were to pass away before getting divorced or finalizing things would be if your will said, I'm married to X. However, this is the stipulations of that I request upon my death, right? Because you can say that even though I'm married, it goes to someone else. That also but that does raise potential contest of will, and then you're taking your family through a lot of things that are painful emotionally, financially, and spiritually for a lot of families. Okay, yeah, well, I would do your transfer on death then if you wanted to do something before you got divorced. I would do that because he's an adult. Again, not an attorney, and if you do need a consult with a family law attorney, we can definitely provide you with a reference.
Thank you for reiterating that. We do not give legal advice, but we do rely on we're sharing what the community knows to be able to engage in conversation. So none of this is legal advice. However, we want to make sure that we don't resource guard and whatever with the things that we do know, but we do encourage you to do your own research. Other questions?
And we'll make sure that we add Deborah, who is our legal advisor and a estate planning attorney, on the next call. So if you guys have anything that's burning, that is legal, she can give you overview. She can't technically tell you what you should do, but she can give you an overview on what should happen.
But yeah, I'll come with you now.
Other
It sounded like somebody was getting ready to say something.
I don't know if that's any other questions.
So quiet.
It's a very quiet day.
Mm-hmm. That means I take that as we were thorough.
That must be it. That must be it. Okay, any reflections though, based on the things that Aston has shared? I know that want to just give people space to have conversation with the folks who are here, if it's directly related to this or even indirectly related. Question.
Anything? No question is a bad question. I know that sounds cliche.
I'm wondering about two things. So I'm trying to see, and I've been listening. I haven't been really in front of a screen to like really process what you're having. So I'm listening and moving at the same time. So I apologize if it's something that you've said before. But my wonder is your site a digital resource, or is your site a digital resource plus the documents to put things in?
It's
and
both.
I think what I heard too was like you all have like a will, you're in beta phase with the will, but I also thought I heard there was something about like estate planning. And so I'm trying to see like what it is, and like if you could talk more about the estate planning side of things, because maybe I missed it. But like, what does the estate planning particular piece look like? And is that intertwined into the will particular piece? Just trying to figure out like what it is, because I'm actually sedentary right now, so I'm gonna be able to process a little bit more. But yeah, just trying to see like what is the site. What are the things that the site offers? And can you talk more about the estate planning side of things as well?
Got it. No problem. That's what we're here for. So Inherit helps you put this, your entire estate together, from educating you on what an estate plan is, how to put it together, And all these pieces that we talked about, organizing all your documentation from wills to trusts, all of that is a part of your estate plan, including the power of attorney. So the whole thing is it different chapters of one big book. That's pretty much what it is. So yes, you can do all of that on our site. You can learn about it. You can upload all your documents. You can do your will, which is a part of your estate plan, or trust if you want to go in that direction, depending on what kind of assets and if your family wants to structure something like that together. It's a little, like I said, a little bit more involved and more expensive, but it saves a lot of more time on the back end. But I would say start with our Inherit Hub. We have a lot of articles there that that'll give you some more in depth. But we have free power of attorney. Like I said, you start there. But once again, we were saying if you could do anything tonight, and an action step is just to go on the platform, start with the quiz that we have, and just kind of go around and see. We walk you through the entire process. So once again, if you aren't ready to immediately do anything today, that would be the first place that I start, is just learning on the site. Hopefully that answered your question, Tamiko.
Mercedes.
Oh, okay. Oh.
I have one question. I'm based in Los Angeles, and we recently dealt with some crazy fires, and that's always kind of like in the background. And also having lived in Louisiana and dealing with hurricanes, the issue of natural disasters comes to mind, and how sometimes we aren't able to access the cloud, or we lose documents related to natural disasters. And so I was wondering if you had any thoughts or suggestions in regards to that piece.
Well, I mean, the best thing is, yes, it'll be in a cloud, and that's probably the best place to have it in terms of being in a natural disaster, because it being charred or wet or gone because of a flood, there's nothing you can do with it at that point. Not having access to a cloud for a couple of days or things like that, just because you don't have internet, it's still there. It's, you might have to call a family member that's out of state, or somebody that does have access to that, but it's always still there, versus if it's physical and then physically tampered with, there's nothing you can do at that point. You're going to have to go get with the state, get with your Cook County's office, Social Security. You're going to have to go back and literally piece your life together in the midst of everything else that you're trying to piece together. And that's the last thing you want to do, where I could just go to a cloud and everything's there. My insurance documents, because I know a lot of people, and especially in LA, had issues with insurance being not covering it, or lapsing, or not having access to their documents to know what their insurance even covered. So having it as a backup in the cloud is the best thing you can do, because even if you can't get access to it at that time, you can at least at a later date, or somebody that can have access on your behalf.
So we are getting closer. We're going to need to transition a little bit here. I am just grateful for you, Aston, and for you, Amanda, just hopping on and being so willing to chime in, to share this platform that you all have created. If people want to reach out to you or ask additional questions, how should they reach out to you?
You can find us on Get Inherit, and it's spelled like inheritancy, Get Inherit on all platforms. And the website is getinherit.com. You can go there. So we try to make it easy for you. But yes,
I also put the email address in the chat as well.
Yes, she did. So yeah, email address is there. I think we had already earlier put the website, so you guys can go there and find us there as well. But Evan, thank you so much for allowing us to have this platform. We appreciate it. I know this is a sacred space for everybody, talking about inheritancy and just building up our community. So we don't take light of that at all. It's definitely a passion of ours. So thank you very much.
No, thank you for being here. And we will have we'll have a part two for the Inherit team to join us on our October 27th event, because that will be the end of our If There's a Will, There's a Way challenge. And so one of the things that has come up, you've asked, we answered, was like, okay, how do I do this? Here's a how. So we have a website, we have people, we have instructions. So we're expecting some testimonies when October 27th rolls around. And we know that this has been such a good alignment when it comes to just this being a human thirst kind of approach. And so we're really excited about having you here, and then you being here in a month or so to hopefully celebrate some trust filings, some things that have moved in this direction. So thank you all so much.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully we'll have Deborah on here too, so you guys can get some legal questions.
No, we appreciate that so much. So we have just a couple more minutes until the call, and there's some really exciting things that have been going on in Blondina's Ayersville. I want to hear just a reinforcement about the challenge that's going on. We're asking you that we're on socials we're Blondina's Ayers everywhere. So on Instagram and Facebook, and there's information about the challenge. Please go and share the information about the challenge and encourage your community to do it. This is something that is a gift to just prompt the conversation in our communities. You don't have to steward them through the process, but we do want to prompt folks and say, hey, this is something we should be doing. This is something we're doing collectively. And our social media probably in the coming week will also share some information about Inherit, so we have some hows in place. So just want to remind us to go ahead and lean into it. We know that our wills and trusts are going to be living documents. We have to go back and tweak them, but having something in place, as we shared earlier, can be life altering. And so we want to make sure that we're making those choices as in real time. Next slide, please. We're going to keep going because we'll talk a little bit more. It's a quiet group. We've talked about this being a recurring meeting. We'll be back again on the 27th of October. So come and invite your friends. But the thing that I'm really excited about is based on the conversation that we've been having here. We've had Let's Talk About the House virtually. We're taking this live. So we are pleased to say that we are partnering with the Wirtz Center, which is on Northwestern's downtown campus, to host a Let's Talk About the House live conference in Chicago. That will be on November 22nd and the 23rd. We are hoping that folks will come individually, but also come with their families to get more information, similar to what we share in these meetings. Have some community conversations. We'll have some opportunities to engage in storytelling, your storytelling and receiving story. We also will have a live computer lab where wills and obituary writing will happen real time. So we'll have some activations during that period. We will also be able to, we have some therapists who are lined up, and we also have some pastoral counselors who are lined up to help us facilitate some of the conversations that may be challenging with our families. So this is a good pre-holiday event to come to. There'll be food. We'll keep it light. We'll try to make sure that we have a good time, and also engage our family around some important topics. There may be it's a 2-day conference. The bulk of the workshops are happening on Saturday. The second day, there is a youth track, as well as a reading of Dina's Ayers, which is open to the public. The night of the 22nd, we'll be having a fundraiser for the organization, where there'll be a cocktail reception and a reading at a different price ticket. So we will be sharing all that information. If you joined our sessions at any point in time, we will be sharing that information via email, and we hope that you're able to join us. we are still looking for some presenters. If you've been here before, you understand the kind of conversations that we're having, and we want to bring some other folks to share their stories and also to engage the community. So if it's something that seems aligned with work that you've done or work that you want to do, we invite you to reach out to us and let us know that you're interested, either from the perspective of being a part of the presentation process or perhaps being a part of our committee. We have a really dynamic group of people who are rolling their sleeves up from all kinds of walks of life to make this happen. It is actually pretty exciting. I've had clergy members, I've had capital, venture capitalists, we've had educators, we've had event planners who have heard about what we're doing and have gotten excited about being a part of a really exciting team. So if this is something that you want to spend your time cultivating and creating, we invite you to reach out to us and join our very strong and mighty, small but mighty committee. It's growing though, to kind of get this thing off the ground. We are partnering. I can't announce formal partnerships, but we're partnering with some organizations that you may know to bring some folks from a number of different demographics to this conference as well. So if you're part of a nonprofit organization or another community organization that serves folks who are specifically dealing with inheritance or property issues, please reach out to us, because we are also hoping to partner with folks, not just to present, but also to bring populations who really need this conversation. So we're excited about that. Want to pause, and if there are any questions about the upcoming conference or any of the things that we are covering, or any comments one way or the other, I want to open the floor. Alrighty. The registration for the conference will open October 14th, and so please stay tuned and look out for information about it upcoming. Let's see, next slide, please. This is information about getting involved. So we were really excited to have confirmation over the summer that our 501c3 had been approved. If you've ever been on the other side of filing for a nonprofit organization, you know that that can be a process that can go a little bit longer than one would want. And so now we're in the space where we've been activating on this vision and this mission for the last 4 or 5 months, and we are inviting you to contribute in whatever ways that you feel led to contribute. There is this QR code here, and we're inviting you to donate to our Seeds for Deeds campaign. Our goal for the end of October is a $25,000 mark, which gives us seed money for some of the programming that we've already done, gives us seed money for the conference that we're going into. So if that is something that you, if this is something that you see value in, we ask that you maybe choose to donate your extra snack money, your mani-pedi money, if it's your splurge, your mad shopping splurge money, or even a sacrificial gift to the organization. The link is included here, and we welcome you and thank you in advance for your gift. Next slide. As always, I'm very grateful to our team, to our board, and to the folks who helped to make this happen. Before we jump off, I would love to hear maybe just a 2-word reflection from each person who is on the call today. What are 2 words that would describe this session for you? Would love to hear your thoughts.
I'll go first. I would say my 2 words would be safe and insightful.
My 2 words are new season on a lot of different levels. Happy fall, everybody, by the way.
I see energized in the chat.
My 2 words would be outstanding knowledge.
Awesome. And welcome. Glad you're here today.
I'll jump in. Mine would be empowerment and legacy.
I see new perspective in the chat.
I'm gonna chime in because I have my sisters on here. So my 2 words are my sisters.
Hey,
Hey,
sis. Any others? All right. Well, I thank you all so much for joining us this evening. It is always a pleasure to engage with you all. And just a reminder to like, share, and follow on social media so that we can get the word out about the work that we're doing. And our contact information is there. You will receive notes and slides probably a little bit later on this week. There was we made mention of this being a new season. I just want to hold space too for some of our Jewish and Hebrew sisters and brothers who are celebrating New Year and newness and new season and harvest, beginning at the sundown, which is why some of our folks are not here today. But in solidarity with that vision, I just want to invite us to newness. I want us to invite us to reflection and a new reality for not just our own families, but just for us at large. So thank you so much for being here and have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
All right.